From the St. Louis Public Radio newsroom, this is The Gateway. It's Thursday, February 6th. I'm Abby Larico. No matter how you feel about a team from Missouri's other big city to the west heading back to the Super Bowl, Sunday's matchup is set. And as the Kansas City Chiefs take on the Philadelphia Eagles for their third Super Bowl win in a row, Chiefs tight end Travis Kelce will once again be in the spotlight. But his teammates say he's used to the pressure.
He doesn't let the moment be bigger than what it is. He just goes out there and execute at a high level just like he does in the regular season.
Kelce's journey from football star in the Midwest to international fame. Plus,
Ain't that just like me?
When jazz player Donny McClaslin set out to adapt David Bowie's album Blackstar for Symphony Orchestra, he thought about what his late collaborator would have wanted.
I thought, what about take the DNA from the record, reimagine it, and create a new piece of art? That would be something that David would be into.
St. Louis Public Radio's Jeremy Goodwin talks to McClaslin ahead of his performance with the St. Louis Symphony. Those stories coming up after this news on The Gateway. Missouri voters approved increases to minimum wage and sick leave last election, but yesterday, lawmakers heard bills that would create exceptions to those rules. The minimum wage increased to $13.75 an hour on January 1st and will increase to $15 an hour at the start of next year. The two bills discussed in an initial House of Representatives committee hearing yesterday would both allow business owners to pay teenage employees below the new state minimum wage. St. Charles Republican Scott Miller is sponsoring one of those bills. His would allow employers to pay workers who violate company policy below minimum wage.
If we're going to guarantee people a minimum wage, there needs to be some type of guarantee of minimum performance to go along with that.
The committee plans to work on a piece of legislation combining several of the proposed bills. Missouri's Department of Social Services is hoping a new digital platform will make it easier to qualify for key programs. DSS recently rolled out Steady IQ, which digitally tabulates job income. The platform aims to make it quicker for state officials to verify income for Medicaid or food assistance programs. NBA Hall of Famer Shaquille O'Neal is a part owner of the company that operates the platform. He was in Jefferson City recently to celebrate Steady IQ's rollout in Missouri.
I think it's a win-win for everybody. Help save the taxpayers some money, help people get their benefits and, get them real quick, and, help administration also cut down on costs.
DSS launched a pilot program with Steady IQ in 2023. They may expand it to more social service programs. Schools would be required to limit cell phone use under several bills Missouri lawmakers heard yesterday. St. Louis Public Radio's Sarah Kellogg reports on the proposed legislation.
The bills require school districts to create policies outlining cell phone use. That would include banning cell phones during, quote, instructional activities. How the schools would enforce those policies would be up to them. Republican Representative Ann Kelly said if the legislature decides to pass this policy, then it needs to be in the school district's hands. She also said the state needs to have the school district's backs on these policies.
Because it is a big thing whenever school districts do this, and they get a lot of grief from parents and students. So all the support that we can give them is beneficial.
Two of the three bills require schools to have an established policy by the 2026-2027 school year. In Jefferson City, I'm Sarah Kellogg, St. Louis Public Radio.
An organization that represents Illinois' largest private employment sector is worried about price hikes. The Illinois Retail Merchants Association is highlighting a new study that shows the state's retail sector generates more than $112 billion in economic activity every year. Rob Carr is the association's president and CEO. He says tariffs on goods from China, Mexico, and Canada would raise prices, and that's going to hurt small businesses.
When you're talking about imports from Mexico, you're talking about a lot of foodstuffs and other things, but foodstuffs in particular. That does impact the price of the grocery store. Retail will get blamed, but it isn't retail. It's the uncertainty for retail that we have to figure out how we're going to price things.
The study was conducted by the University of Cincinnati Economics Center. It also found that retail accounts for roughly a quarter of the state's private sector workforce and 10% of the state's GDP. A Metro East Arts Center has a new home after searching for the past couple of months. St. Louis Public Radio's Will Bauer reports the Jacoby Arts Center is staying in Alton.
The Jacoby will be moving just a handful of blocks west in downtown Alton. The nonprofit arts center temporarily closed in October after not being able to reach a deal to stay in their longtime building. Board President Valerie Hoven says she's happy the Jacoby will stay in the heart of the city.
So we're hoping that by adding the Jacoby Arts Center, it really just makes it even more of a thriving district that we can support not just downtown Alton, but all of Madison County and beyond.
The new location is expected to open later this spring. It's not as big as the old one, and Hoven says that means the Arts Center may look a little different than before, but they'll largely be able to keep most of their programming. I'm Will Bauer, St. Louis Public Radio.
Whether you love rooting for our Missouri neighbors to the west or your football allegiance will never find a home in Kansas City, it's been hard to ignore the dominance of the Chiefs. And the team's tight end, Travis Kelce, has been front and center for a lot of the team's biggest moments in the last few years. If the Chiefs hope to pull off the three-peat at Super Bowl 59 this Sunday, it's likely that Kelce will have to assume that same place in the spotlight once again. But Kelce has become more comfortable in that spotlight over the past 2 years, in football and in American pop culture, as Greg Eklund reports.
Super Bowl opening night is a public event when both teams make appearances on the field and hundreds of media members ask questions. Last year in Las Vegas, 6 of the first 7 questions directed to Kansas City Chiefs tight end Travis Kelce were centered around his girlfriend, music icon Taylor Swift.
She seems to be enjoying the games. She's a part of Chiefs Kingdom right now. It's fun seeing her enjoy the game of football.
The phrase Chiefs Kingdom has spread beyond Kansas and the surrounding states. It has permeated the American football fan base in Germany, according to Alex Steinforth, the general manager of NFL Germany.
They all know about Chiefs Kingdom. They sometimes even know the history by now.
Steinforth, who attended a Taylor Swift concert in Hamburg, Germany last summer, saw firsthand how visible the Travis Kelce jerseys were at the venue.
To be fair, that's one of the entry points for non-fans, casual fans that didn't really have any overlap with football before.
From January through October last year, Kelce jersey sales ranked number 1 in Germany, according to the NFL Players Association, but in the U.S. was not in the top 10. Chiefs quarterback Patrick Mahomes was number 2 in Germany and number 3 in the U.S. Mahomes and Kelce have paired up as the tandem with the most touchdowns between them in NFL postseason history. They added another TD to that record in this year's divisional playoff game against Houston.
Mahomes steps up, throws, and he got it! Touchdown, Kelce!
But Kelce isn't the only record holder. While Kelce traveled to Las Vegas for the Super Bowl in 2024, Taylor Swift attended the Grammy Awards and won Album of the Year.
She's unbelievable. She's rewriting the history books herself. I told her I'll have to hold up my end of the bargain and come home with some hardware too.
He did. The Chiefs won the Lombardi Trophy after an overtime victory over the San Francisco 49ers.
Step back a little bit to give this young lady room.
Taylor Swift continued to attend games at Arrowhead again this season, including the divisional game against the Texans, when she saw her beau have his best day of the year with 7 catches for 117 yards. The 35-year-old Kelce was asked if he felt like he were 25 again.
22, baby, 22.
Chiefs coach Andy Reid cited that game against Houston when he declared,
"That's why he's the greatest tight end there's been."
Mahomes says he isn't surprised at what Kelce does when a season is on the line.
He doesn't let the moment be bigger than what it is. He just goes out there and execute at a high level, just like he does in the regular season. He just does that a little bit higher intensity.
At this stage of Kelce's career, there's more talk of a possible retirement, though he said this week he still envisions himself as a football player 3 years from now.
I feel like I still got a lot of good football left in me, but we'll see what happens. I know I've been setting myself up for other opportunities in my life, and that's always been the goal, knowing that football only lasts for so long.
Andy Reid says he's not concerned.
Yeah, he can still play. But he's all right, you know.
And while Taylor Swift may have come away empty at the Grammys this year, Kelce hopes he can make a few more big plays this Sunday to help the Chiefs win their third straight Super Bowl. From New Orleans, I'm Greg Eklund.
That story comes to us from member station KCUR in Kansas City. If I may, go Chiefs. Rock legend David Bowie called on jazz saxophonist Donny McClaslin and his band 10 years ago to record Bowie's album Blackstar. The record sounds haunted by death. Just days after its 2016 release, Bowie died. McClaslin and the Blackstar Band will perform an orchestral adaptation Friday with the St. Louis Symphony Orchestra. St. Louis Public Radio's Jeremy Goodwin asked McClaslin if he wants it to be an exact replay of the album.
I thought, what about more like take the DNA from the record, reimagine it, and create a new piece of art? That would be something that David would be into. And it's just so powerful having the orchestra.
It's impossible for me to hear this album outside of its context, which is that the world didn't know he was working on a record, the world didn't know he was sick, and then he released this album on his 69th birthday, and 2 days later, he died. When you're just out in your life and you come across a reference to David Bowie Blackstar, what's the first thing you feel?
It's been different feelings at different periods since all this happened. I would feel a well of emotion come up. You know, I remember walking into the sushi restaurant in my neighborhood with my kids, and Lazarus was on the radio.
Look up here, I'm in heaven. I've got scars that can't be seen.
It felt really loaded emotionally, primarily because of David's passing. I guess at times also marveling at how beautiful the record is and feeling so happy to have been a part of something like that, this just beautiful record. So that's part of it too, but I think for a lot of time it just felt heavy emotionally.
Something happened on the day he died. Spirit rose a meter, then stepped aside.
What sticks out in your mind from the recording process? Are there moments that you come back to?
Yeah, I mean, one is when we were recording Lazarus. I remember I was in the saxophone booth looking straight ahead, and there was David's profile because he was singing right outside my saxophone booth. And I just remember imagining my saxophone as a pillow around his voice.
Just like that bluebird. Oh, I'll be free.
And it was such a magical kind of moment to feel that way. And I felt free enough just to ride that feeling. To be able to just feel like I was inside his voice and just trying to add beauty and comfort around it. That was like a magical moment where everything really felt like it connected for me.
What's a moment in the orchestral Blackstar where you feel like, yeah, this is what I was trying to do here?
Girl Loves Me. On the original version, there's, let's call it a breakdown section. On the record, it stays in one key. It's an event, and then it moves on to the next event in the song. And in this version, it modulates harmonically, and then the 12/8 rhythmic language that's happening at that moment is sort of dispersed around the orchestra. So it really moves beautifully through some different key centers, and also just orchestration-wise, it's really lush and really involved. So that's one I love.
That was musician Donny McClaslin speaking with St. Louis Public Radio's Jeremy Goodwin. You heard music from David Bowie and the National Symphony Orchestra. The Gateway is a production of St. Louis Public Radio, a listener-supported service of the University of Missouri St. Louis. Theme music is by Ryan McNeely of Adult Fur. Right now, here's the Charlotte Symphony playing the title track of David Bowie's album, Blackstar. I'm Abby Larico. I'm thankful to be among all of these iconic voices featured in today's episode. And from the St. Louis Public Radio Newsroom, this has been The Gateway.